Snow fell silently across the vast Montana plains, blanketing the sleepy town in a serene, icy quiet. The wind whispered through the skeletal trees, and the distant howl of a lone coyote echoed across the frozen horizon. On the edge of town, the old ranch stood like a steadfast sentinel against the night. Its wooden beams groaned with age, and the warm glow of lanterns flickered inside, offering a stark contrast to the cold, dark world outside. Widowed rancher John Matthews leaned against the doorway of his modest cabin, rubbing his calloused hands together. Life had been hard since the accident that had claimed his wife 2 years ago, leaving him alone to raise their daughter, Lily. At 9 years old, Lily was a bundle of curiosity and wonder, but tonight he sensed a heaviness in the air that chilled him deeper than the winter wind. A sudden, timid knock on the door jolted him from his thoughts. John's heart skipped a beat. It was nearly midnight. Who could possibly be out in this weather? He hurried to the door and opened it to find a little girl, shivering, her rosy cheeks streaked with tears. Her golden hair was tangled from the snow, and her small hands were pressed against her chest as though seeking warmth from the world itself. "Mama needs help," the girl whispered, her voice trembling like brittle ice. John's heart clenched. He recognized the desperation in her eyes, the kind that only comes from a child in true fear. He bent down to her level, careful to keep his voice calm yet firm. "It's all right, little one. You're safe now. Tell me what happened." The girl's words came in gasps between sobs. She's sick. Mama can't get out of bed. Please help." John's mind raced. The nearest town doctor was miles away, and the snowstorm had already grown fierce. He didn't hesitate. Grabbing the lanterns that hung along the porch, he lit them one by one, their warm light casting long shadows across the snow. "Don't worry. I'll take care of it. You stay close." The girl nodded, clutching his hand like a lifeline. Together, they navigated the snow-laden path to her home, the lanterns swaying gently in John's firm grasp. Each step was treacherous, the wind cutting through even the thickest coats. But John pressed on, driven by the urgency in the girl's pleading eyes. As they reached the cabin, John saw the faint flicker of candlelight through the curtains. The little girl's mother lay pale and shivering inside, clutching her chest. John quickly checked her breathing, noting the rapid, shallow rhythm that set his heart hammering. He acted instinctively, setting down the lanterns to light a fire, wrapping blankets around the woman, and calling out instructions to the girl. "Stay with me, okay? Everything's going to be fine," he said, his voice steady despite the tension gripping his chest. The storm outside raged on, but inside the cabin, the warm glow of the lanterns seemed to fight back the darkness. The little girl knelt by her mother's side, holding her hand, while John worked tirelessly to keep the fire going, fetching hot water and tending to the sick woman. Hours passed like minutes, and slowly the mother's color returned, her breaths evening out. Relief washed over John, but exhaustion weighed heavily on him. Finally, the woman whispered, Thank you for saving us." Her eyes glistened with gratitude, and the little girl hugged John tightly, whispering, "You lit every lantern. You saved Mama." John smiled, his rough exterior softening. "Sometimes it just takes a little light to chase away the dark," he said, brushing snow from her hair. That night, as the storm subsided and the first hints of dawn painted the sky, John watched the girl and her mother safe inside their home. The memory of her small, trembling hands on his, the urgency in her voice, and the warmth of the lanterns burning bright would stay with him forever. And in the quiet of that snowy morning, he felt a spark of hope, not just for them, but for himself too. As he walked back to his ranch, John glanced at the horizon and thought about all the stories waiting to unfold in the night, all the lives that needed a little courage and light. And for those watching, for those who believed in heart, bravery and kindness, he would always be there, lighting every lantern. The next morning, the world was still wrapped in a soft layer of white. Snowflakes clung to the branches, sparkling like tiny diamonds under the weak winter sun. The storm had passed, but the chill in the air reminded everyone that winter's grip was far from over. John Matthews returned to his ranch, the memory of the little girl's desperate knock still vivid in his mind. He carried more than just the weight of the snow on his shoulders. He carried the reminder of life's fragility, the power of hope, and the warmth that comes from lending a hand to those in need. As John tended to his morning chores, feeding the horses, inspecting the fences, and preparing for the harsh day ahead, he couldn't shake the image of the little girl's wide, pleading eyes. He thought about the storm, the biting wind, and how each lantern he lit seemed to push the darkness back just a little. There was something almost magical about that moment, a reminder that even the smallest actions could illuminate a world shrouded in uncertainty. By midday, word of John's midnight rescue had spread quietly through the town. Neighbors spoke in hushed tones about the widowed rancher who braved the storm to save a stranger's family. For John, it wasn't about recognition or thanks. It was about doing what needed to be done. The unspoken understanding that kindness was a responsibility, not an option. Yet the whispers reminded him that sometimes the most courageous acts ripple far beyond the moment they occur. That evening, as twilight descended over the ranch, John heard a soft knock at his own cabin door. He opened it to find the little girl standing there once more, her eyes bright with gratitude and something else he couldn't quite place. Behind her, her mother stood, wrapped in warm blankets, a smile breaking across her face. "John," the mother said softly, her voice filled with emotion, "I can't thank you enough for what you did. You lit every lantern, and you didn't just save us. You reminded us of hope." The little girl tugged at John's sleeve. "Will you stay for supper? Mama says you can." Her words were hesitant, but the warmth in her eyes was unmistakable. John chuckled, a deep, rough sound that seemed to echo through the snowy night. "I'd be honored," he replied, stepping inside. The cabin, though small, was filled with warmth and the faint scent of home-cooked food. As they gathered around the table, the bond between them deepened, unspoken but undeniable. After supper, the little girl pulled John to the window. Outside, the snow had begun to fall again, softer this time, like a gentle lullaby covering the world in silence. She pointed to the lanterns he had left burning around the cabin the night before. "They're still shining," she whispered. "Just like you promised." John knelt beside her, his eyes reflecting the soft glow. Sometimes, all it takes is a little light to guide someone through the darkness. Remember that always. The following days brought new challenges. The mother's health remained fragile, and the harsh Montana winter showed no mercy. Yet John remained steadfast, visiting daily to tend to their needs, chopping wood, delivering supplies, and sharing stories by the fire. With each visit, he became more than just a helper. He became a part of their lives, a beacon in the stormy shadows of uncertainty. But it wasn't just the family that felt the impact of his presence. News of John's acts of kindness inspired the townsfolk to come together, helping one another in ways they hadn't before. Neighbors shared supplies, checked on the elderly, and lit lanterns in their windows to guide travelers and children home safely through the snow. What began as a single act of bravery and compassion had sparked a chain of hope that spread across the town like wildfire. One night, as John sat by the fire with the little girl asleep beside her mother, he reflected on the journey that had begun with a simple knock at midnight. The weight of loss he had carried for so long felt lighter somehow, tempered by the knowledge that even in the coldest, darkest nights, human hearts could shine with unmatched warmth. The little girl stirred in her sleep, murmuring, "Thank you for every lantern." John smiled, his heart full. "You don't have to thank me, little one. We all have the power to light up the dark, if only we choose to." As the fire crackled and the lanterns flickered, John knew that life was unpredictable, that storms would come and go, and that moments of despair would always exist alongside moments of hope. But he also knew that courage, kindness, and love could create a light strong enough to guide anyone through the night. For those watching this story, John's tale was more than a story of survival or heroism. It was a reminder that every act of compassion matters. Every lantern you light, no matter how small, can guide someone out of darkness. And just like John, You have the power to be the light in someone's night. Soft YouTube outro suggestion. If this story of hope and courage touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe and join us for more tales that inspire, uplift, and remind us all of the power of kindness. Hit that bell so you never miss a story that could change your life or someone else's.